The Bhavisya Purana. Preface. The Puranas are not only the tomes of mythological stories and ancient records, but they also reveal the progress of the thought process of the Indian social milieu. They contain literature, grammar, science, and almost every branch of knowledge that developed in this part of the world. They are 18 in number and believed to have been compiled by the renowned sage Vyasa. In fact, barring the Ramayana, which is the creation of the renowned sage Valmiki, almost all the sacred Hindu scriptures had issued from his, Vedavyas' pen only. After having composed the Mahabharata, Vedavyas was not content with the stories that he had recounted. He felt as though the stories recounted needed a wider explanation. Then he composed the 18 Mahapuranas. These texts have among them as many as more than 4 lakh shlokas. Of course, there have been quite many in interpolation, but all the Purana's authorship is basically attributed to him only. Obviously, so much of writing is beyond the apparent capacity of one individual. This fact led the scholars to believe that Vedavyas was merely a title conferred on the most learned and unbiased person of every era. The last Vedavyas was Krishna Dvaipayana, the son of an illegitimate union between sage Parashar and Satyavati, the daughter of the headman of the boat rowers who lived along the banks of the river Yamuna. The Bhavisya Purana, the 9th in the list of the Mahapurana, is a short Purana containing about 14,000 couplets. For a Purana to be a Mahapurana, it must contain 5 characteristics, Panchalakshana. That is, the text must describe 5 different subjects: original creation of the universe, Sharga; the periodical process of destruction and recreation, Patisharga; the various eras of Manu, Manvantaras; the genealogical details of the 2 prominent dynasties, the solar and the lunar dynasties, Surya and Chandravansha respectively, and the ritualistic details of the noble deeds to be performed in every era. Although the Bhavisya Purana does not quite adhere to this rule of Paneha Lakshanas, it is treated as a Mahapurana. It is because, going by this definition, none of the Puranas, save the Vishnu Purana, fully conform to this norm. The Bhavisya Purana comes under the category of a Rajashika Purana. The Bhavisya Purana earns a special distinction by being the only Purana that is based on the predictions. It mostly tells us what will be from the time it was compiled in. Hence, oracles and prophecies abound in this Purana. Even though other Puranas also delve occasionally in future telling, they all seem to have borrowed the futuristic section from this Purana only. It is believed that the present edition of the Bhavisya Purana is the abridged or condensed version of the 3 Puranas known as Bhavisya Purana, Bhavishyati Purana, and Bhavishyatara Purana. It is also believed to have been the only Purana that has continued to evolve for more than 2,000 years. In fact, the allusion incorporated in this Purana as prophecies, predicting not only the happenings of the medieval ages, but even referring to the British Raj in India, makes its authenticity suspect as an ancient tome of the sacred knowledge. The scholars, however, generally opine that its basic text has grown over a period of 2 millennia. Perhaps after its editing during the Gupta reign, 3rd to 4th century AD, it continued to suffer interpolations or additions till as late as 1850 AD. Whatever be the date of its final compilation, it presents an interesting study. It shows how the interpolations had Sanskritized the Prakrata or even Persian-Arabic term via Alad for the chivalrous hero of the Middle Ages called Alha, of Alha Vidal fame, and Timurling or Tamerlun, to make the interpolation acquire a sheen of authenticity. The chapterization of the present work doesn't follow the original text order, but it clubs all the details of a single activity, like Vrata or Dan, under one heading. It is hoped that our discerning readership would find this arrangement rather easily comprehensible and logical, and accord this work a warm welcome. Introduction. The Bhavisya Purana is perhaps the most controversial Purana from the point of view of its authenticity. It has a variety of versions available with at least 3 names: Bhavisya Purana, Bhavishyati Purana, and Bhavishyatara Purana. Moreover, it is the only Purana which touches, forecasts, events as late as that occurring in the end of the 19th century AD. Also, since its text had undergone a variety of interpolations, the haphazard references of various events, rituals, and stories that spread all over the text, it has been a monumental task to make its contents easily comprehensible for the modern curious reader. Nevertheless, with all these difficulties, an endeavor has been made to make the reader get the gist of its contents in a logical way. That is why this work is littered with copious footnotes, because it was felt that unless the footnotes or explanations within the parentheses are not given, the whole text may appear pointless and to some extent quite boring. The equivalent prevalent names of the Sanskritized names of the main characters of the stories have also been explained in order to help the reader derive the right reference to an allusion. At times, due to paucity of space, the stories that are repeated in other Puranas without any change in the sequence have been briefly referred to with a passing reference to their availability in other Puranas. Some of the stories or details which appeared to be lacking sense and relevance have been only briefly referred to. The desirous readers may consult the original to get the full details. All said and done, it has been quite an onerous task to give the essence of the Bhavisya Purana in this slender volume, but the author is indeed grateful to Sri Narendra Kumar Ji of Diamond Pocket Books, who allowed him total freedom. It is hoped that the discerning readers would add this work to their personal library, like they have accorded the warm welcome to the other Puranas of the same series. No matter how, these Puranas do provide us a peep into our past that eventually went to form the norms of our modern society. For, as Santyana opined in his famous Life of Reason, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Creation and ceremonies. Maharshi Vedavyas, the son of sage Parashar and maiden Satyavati, had created or compiled many Puranas. Although they all are quite merit-bestowing, yet when the group of the leading sages, including sages Bhrigu, Vashishta, Pulastya, Pulaha, Kratu, Parashar, etc., reached near King Shatanika, a disciple of Vyasa only, they asked the king to recite to them some such sacred text as could ensure final release to the listener's soul. It is indeed true that I am a disciple of sage Vedyavas, and have learnt much from my guru, replied Shatanika. But that which you wish to learn about still eludes me. Let me ask the great sage as to which is that sacred knowledge whose recital may fulfill your heart's desire. When Shatanika asked Vedavyas about it, he said, I have already taught all that is to my disciple Sumantu. Why don't you seek Sumantu's guidance for this? Maybe he tells you all that you wish to learn. When Shatanika went to Sumantu, a long dialogue began between the two, which forms the basic body of this sacred text called Bhavisya Purana. Sumantu enlightened all the sages, saying that this is the Purana whose recital or learning redeems a man from all his sins, and he gets the merit that accrues to the one who performs an Ashwamedha Yagya. Only the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas can study it, while the Shudras can only listen to it. The Sumantu, revealing about this great Bhavisya Purana, said, the Lakshana, identifying symptoms of a Purana, are 5 sections, or Parva. First is Brahma Parva, second Vaishnava, third Shaiva, fourth Tvashta, and fifth Pratisharga. These sections contain not only the details about creation and destruction, but genealogical charts of the famous dynasties, the commentaries of the 4 Vedas, 6 parts of the Veda knowledge, Vedanga, Mimamsa, jurisprudence, 14 disciples of knowledge which, if included with Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, Gandharva Shastra, and Arthashastra, become 18 in number. Then he started the narration with details about the Creator. These Puranas are generally divided into 3 categories: Sattvika, Rajas, and Tanyas. That Purana which extols the virtues of Lord Vishnu is held to be Sattvika, of Brahma Rajashika, and of Shiv Tamashika. Since Bhavisya Purana extols the virtues of Brahma, it is said to be the Rajashika Purana. There is no god like Brahma, no teacher like him. The sacred Vedas are his conceptions. He is the god of wisdom. His consort is Sarasvati, who is said to be the goddess of wisdom. The learned should devote themselves to Brahma. Those, and only those versed in the Vedas, should install his images and build temples dedicated to him. A person who constructs a temple to Brahma goes straight to heaven and enjoys divine pleasures. If a person sweeps one of Brahma's temples, he attains the objects of his desire. Even if one sweeps the temple dedicated to Brahma with evil intention, he also goes to heaven. Prior to the creation of the universe, there was darkness and water everywhere. In this primordial darkness, Brahma created himself through his own energy. Since he was born, Bhu, from himself, Svayam. Brahma's one epithet is also Svayambhu. It was Brahma who created all the beings that populate the universe. From his psychic, mental powers, he created the great sages like Marichi, Atri, Angira, Pulastya, Pulaha, Kratu, Vashishta, Brigu, Daksha, and Narada. This Bhavisya Purana differs from other mythological accounts in the sense that, while other Puranas often mention that Brahma was born from a lotus that sprouted out of Vishnu's navel, it calls him Svayambhu. In other accounts, Brahma's birth is also attributed to a universal egg, Anda. None of these accounts is mentioned in this Purana. Brahma created Ganesh. It is again different from what other Puranas claim. In ancient times, success automatically crowned human efforts. There was no need of any divine favor. People could do what they wanted to do without encountering any difficulties. Even if there arose any, they could be easily met with and overcome. People, on account of getting success rather easily, developed an overblown sense of self-importance. They became proud, overconfident, and irreverent. Brahma got worried, seeing his creations developing this sense of overbearing manners. I must do something about this, thought Brahma. I must check their arrogance. I will have to create a deity without worshipping whom the humans would not get success. It was then he created Ganesh, the lord of all obstructions. With his creation, no longer ordinary men and women were able to resolve their difficulties on their own. They now needed help and blessings from Lord Ganesh. It became customary to worship Ganesh to ensure success in any endeavor. He became the first god to be invoked at the undertaking of any venture. Hence Ganesh came to be called Lord of all obstructions, or Vigneshwar, as also the bestower of success, Siddhadatta. Ganesh gives extraordinary powers to those who are his devotees. To please Ganesh, one has to purify oneself through baths and offer the god food and flowers. Donation and alms to the Brahmins also became a necessary act to propitiate this god. However, Ganesh is displeased if a person dreams of bathing in oil or is sad without reason. He is also displeased when rulers do not rule, teachers do not teach, or students do not study. Also, agriculture and trade do not prosper when Ganesh is not worshipped beforehand. Curiously enough, this Purana is unique in that it attributes Ganesh's creation to Brahma and not to Shiva or Parvati. Surya and Sanga's story. According to Bhavisya Purana, the most important god is the sun god, or Surya. Telling about this god's creation, Sumantu told Shantanika the following details. To ensure that creation could sustain itself, Brahma divided his body into two parts. The male half came to be known as Svayambhu Manu and the female as Shatarupa. Through his mental or psychic powers, Manu gave birth to 10 sons. Since these sons became the lords, Pati, over all the subjects that were there in the universe, Praja, they came to be known as Prajapatis. One of them was Daksha. Aditi was one of the daughters of Daksha. Sage Kashyapa was Brahma's son, and Aditi was married to Kashyapa. This union eventually produced an egg, which for many days remained almost dead or inactive. Kashyapa and Aditi thought that egg to be a worthless dead object. Kashyapa minutely observed that egg and declared, "The egg, Anda, is not dead, Mrita." Eventually, when the sun god emerged from the egg, he earned the epithet Martanda, an acronym coined from the words Mrita and Anda. Then the sun god began to develop gloriously. When he came of age, Kashyapa thought of his marriage. The divine architect Vishwakarma had a daughter named Sangya, also called Sanja by Sanskrit spelling. She was married to Surya, the sun god. Their children were Yama, Yamuna, and Manu. This Manu was Savarni Manu, and not to be confused with Svayambhu Manu. Although Sangya had begotten 3 sons, she always felt difficulty in Surya's company due to his dazzling energy. Unable to withstand this brilliance, she thought of a trick. She created her exact replica of darker complexion, a woman named Chaya, Shadow, also called Nikshubha, out of her own body. There was no little difference between the two. If beheld casually, it was impossible to tell the two apart. Then Sangya told Chaya, "It is impossible for me to bear my husband's brilliance. Please stay here at my place and impersonate myself. Take care of my children, and under no circumstances should you reveal the truth to my husband." "I will do as you wish, lady," said Chaya, adding, "I shall not reveal the truth until I get cursed. But the moment I am subjected to any curse by your husband or anybody else, I shall reveal the truth that I am not Sangya, but her exact replica, Chaya." Sangya knew that her secret was not likely to be exposed, so she accepted the condition and left. For a while she stayed with her father, Vishwakarma, without telling him that she had deserted her husband, Surya. Initially, Vishwakarma thought as though his daughter had come to pay him a visit, but when days went by and Sangya showed no intention of returning to her husband's place, Vishwakarma's suspicions were aroused. In order to allay these suspicions, she left her father's house. In order to escape identification of her by anybody, she adopted the form of a mare and began to dwell in the region called Uttarakuru. The Bhavisya Purana again differs from the standard text given in the Matsya Purana, which says that after becoming a mare, Sangya stayed in a Maru Pradesh desert. Chaya also bore 2 children for Surya, whose names were Shrutukarma, known as Shani or Saturn, and Tapti. In some versions of Bhavisya Purana, it is claimed that Savarni Manu was also the product of the union of Surya and Chaya. It gives an explanation that the name Savarni was derived from the meaning Sa plus Varni, which means of the same complexion, which is hardly tenable. One day Chaya grew angry with Yama, the son of the union of Sangya and Surya, and cursed him. This made Suryadeva rather suspicious, as no real mother could curse her own son. Moreover, one day Tapti and Yamuna also had a quarrel on some point. Enraged, Tapti said, "I curse you that you will become a river. So you shall also be," thundered Yamuna. This episode in the Markandeya Purana has been described in a different manner. Consequently, Tapti became a river. Sangya was angry, seeing her daughter suffering the curse pronounced by the daughter of her co-wife. So, in order to protect her children, she also gave vent to her anger on the innocent Yama, the real brother of Yamuna. Yama was already wroth with his stepmother, owing to her foul attitude towards his real brother and sister. When rebuked by his stepmother, he couldn't check her temper and raised his foot to kick his stepmother. At this, Chaya cursed Yama, "As soon as you put that foot down, insects will devour it. It will wither." At that point, Surya reached there. He already had suspicions about Chaya, whom he thought to be Sangya, acting as real mother to his elderly progeny. What egged it on was the complaint of Yama, "Sire, she has always been unfair to me. I admit that my raising up my foot to her is surely an unpardonable offense, but have you ever seen any true mother cursing her own children? And please do something to negate her curse to my foot." Expressing his inability to entirely negate the curse, Surya said, "But I assure you that even if insects suck blood from your foot and devour the flesh, your feet shall remain as sturdy as ever. They will not wither. As for my daughters, Tapti and Yamuna, who have to become rivers, I bless them that they will be as sacred as to wash away the sin of the bathers, and Yamuna will be as holy as the Ganga would be, and Tapti as Narmada." Thereafter Surya admonished Chaya, "How can a mother discriminate among her children?" He was about to curse Chaya, and so Chaya's condition of keeping the secret of Sangya's absence was violated. So she told Surya that she was not Sangya but Chaya, as his previous wife had deserted him. Surya was shocked. He immediately left in the quest of Sangya. Surya went to his father-in-law, Vishwakarma, to look for Sangya. Through his mental powers, Vishwakarma could know as to what had happened. He told Surya that Sangya had left him because she couldn't bear his radiance. Let me cut a part of your radiance so that you could become bearable for my daughter. Surya agreed to have this done. The excess energy was sliced off by Vishwakarma. This entire exercise was undertaken in the land of Shakadvipa. But Surya's sliced-off energy was not wasted. From it were cast the chakra Sudarshana, which was gifted to Vishnu, and a trident which was eventually given to Lord Shiva. A little short of his radiance in order to eliminate the cause of inconvenience to his first wife, Sangya, and having learnt about her being available in the region called Uttarakuru in the form of a mare, Surya adopted the form of a horse and met her. In that form they produced a pair of male issues who were named Ashwinikumaras, literally the sons of a horse pair. They were extremely handsome and became the physicians of the gods. The Mahabharata says that the younger Pandavas, via Nakula and Sadeva, sons of Pandu's younger wife Madri, were the incarnations of these two divine physicians. Following Surya and Sangya's returning to their normal forms, they produced another son named Revanta. He was born, according to his Purana, astride a horse and donning an armor with arms in his hand. This section of the Bhavisya Purana extols Surya as much as to relegate even the super trinity Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh to even a lower position. It says that Brahma himself told sage Yajnavalkya, Surya is the god who dispels the darkness of the whole world and is the source of light for all the three realms. Eternal and omniscient, he is the founder, preserver, and destroyer of the universe. He is the god of the gods, the supreme one, he whom no god can dare match. He grants salvation to those who worship him with full faith and adulation. The process of creation. In the primordial stage, Lord Narayana divided his body in two parts, one male and the other female. These two male and female parts together created the whole universe. The beings of the universe are of four varieties: Jarayuj, placental; Andaj, born out of an egg; Svedaja, sweat-born; and Udibaj, sprouting from beneath the ground. These are the four means chi, birth, for the same creation. Those born in a psychic or through mental powers, like Narada, etc., whom Brahma created through his psychic powers, are a different means of creation. Telling them details, Sumantu told Raja Shatanika that in the beginning of the Kalpa, Lord Supreme creates the world which is destroyed at its end. One Kalpa is equal to one Lord's Day. Then telling about the unit of time, the sage said 18 Nimesha are equal to one Kashta. 30 such Kashta measure one Kala. 30 Kalas make one Kashana, moment. 12 Kashanas make one Muhurta. 30 Muhurta measure one Ahoratarf, day and night. 3 seasons measure one Ayana, and 2 Ayanas measure 1 year. The daytime for all beings is meant for activity, and the nighttime for sleeping or dreaming. Each month is made up of 2 fortnights. The bright fortnight is called Shukla Paksha, and the dark fortnight Krishna Paksha. The Ayana, when the sun tilts northwards, is called Uttarayana, and when southwards it is called Dakshinayana. One mortal yuga is equal to Brahma's 1 day and night. A Satya yuga contains 4,000 Brahma's years, Treta 3,000 years, Dwapar 2,000 years, and Kali Yuga 1,000 years. Each yuga ends and is preceded by a Sandhyansha. One cycle of 4 yugas make 1 yuga of the gods. 71 divine yugas of the gods make 1 Manvantara. Brahma's 1 day contains 14 Manus. Each Manvantara has its specified Manu, gods, Indra, and the seers. Ceremonies. There are 16 ceremonies that a Hindu grihastha, family man, should perform, which include Garbhadana, Pursavana, Jatkarma, Anaprashana, i.e. from conception to the child's first eating cereal, Mundana, tonsure, Yagyopavita, sacred thread, Vivaha, marriage, and lastly, the Mritaka Shanskara, last rites, etc. The name-giving ceremony should be performed on the 10th, 12th, and 30th day after the birth. For this, the ideal muhurta should be found out by consulting the astrologers. The name of a Brahmin should be linked with auspicious meaning, of the Kshatriya with the meaning revealing bravery, of the Vaishya revealing prosperity, and of the Shudra revealing general welfare. For example, a Brahmin boy's name could be Vishwakarma, a Kshatriya's Indravarma, and the Vaishya Dhanavardhan, and of the Shudra like Sharvadas. The names of the female child must conform to the gender and be auspiciously meaningful, like Shumangala, Kamala, Supriya, etc. The Anaprasthana of the child should be held on the 12th day, preferably while the Yagyapavita Sanskara should be done before 8 years for a Brahmin child, 11 years of the Kshatriya child, and the 16th year of a Vaishya child. An unmarried Brahmin must wear a Yagyapavita of 3 threads, but after marriage it should be of 6 threads. The Brahmin must study Vedas till they enter the Grahastha ashram. A student, no matter which caste he belongs to, must avoid contact with women during the brahmacharya ashrama. During the student life, brahmacharya period, a student should live a hard life. He shouldn't sleep on couches or cushioned mattresses, but on the floor. He must serve his guru with total honesty and sincerity, and fill his belly by begging food, after seeking permission from his guru. He should go for begging to any house only after the sun has crossed mid-heaven. The following houses are forbidden for him to get food and begging from: his guru's house or family, his own family, and from the house of his gotra members. After telling about the duties of a Bhattuka, Samantu told Raja Shatanika about the women with auspicious and inauspicious symptoms. The types of women. Once telling about the physical attributes of women, Brahmaji had said that fortunate are those women who have their soul of feet like the red lotus. Those with dry, half-floor-touching souls are singularly unfortunate, as they get only poverty and distress. Those having toes very close to each other enjoy kingly opulence. Those with toes joints quite pronounced get good ornaments to wear. Those with toenails slightly reddish and shining get all the pleasures of life. Those who have hard bristles on the outer thighs are generally strife-loving and cantankerous. Those with crow-like thighs are very garrulous, and they often suffer widowhood. Those with knee joints formed like that of a lion or a cat are fortunate. They get male issues. But those who have excessively shining knees are generally women of easy virtue. The ladies who have much bristles on their body are not desirable, as their excessive libido ends up consuming their husband's vitality. However, those with golden-hued soft bristles are bestowers of immense sexual pleasures. The women with an elephant's trunk-like softly tapering thighs are by nature sexually overcharged. Those with a vagina having a mole and its opening like the foot of a cow enhance the poverty of their partner. Those with kite-flower-like vaginal opening and heavy sprawling hips are adorable even for the kings. Those with soft, solid, and well-formed breasts give birth to very fortunate kings. Those with protruding stomach, suppressed pelvic mound, and thin buttocks are debauched by nature. The woman who has during the first pregnancy the right breast a little more swollen than the left begets a male issue, but those with the left breast more swollen beget a female issue. Those who have their nipple point bigger than normal, with the dark round also wider, are cunning and sexually overcharged. Those women who have the breast region rather fleshless are unfortunate, and they are destined to suffer widowhood. Those who have their breast region rather widespread love their spouse with much of strife and dissension. Theirs is invariably love-hate relationships with their spouse. The lady who has 4 prominent veins visible on their arm enjoy much love from her spouse. The women with sharp conical hands and soft skin are generally deft in love plays. Those with dry hands love dissension, and they are cantankerous by nature. Those that have whorls on their fingers enjoy good prosperity. If the ladies have 3 uncut bracelets on their wrists, they are unable to enjoy pleasure for long. A woman devoted to the service of her husband is called a sati. If such a lady keeps fast on the 3rd lunar day, bright, and ends it with a saltless diet after her death by virtue of the blessings from Bhagavati Gauri, enjoys beatitude for a long period in heaven. Quoting Bhagavati Uma, the Purana says that if a man also keeps this fast on the third lunar day of every month during the bright fortnight, he gets a woman of his choice for sure. Such a pair would enjoy eternal bliss like I am enjoying. He who keeps fast on the fourth lunar day without eating any food and donates sesame seeds to the Brahmins, this he must do for at least 2 years, enjoys the favor of Lord Sri Narayan, ensuring prosperity of every kind. Importance of vratas. During the conversation, Raja Shatanika asked as to what made Lord Ganesh earn the epithet of Lord of Obstructions. Who had he disturbed as much as to get this title of Vigneshvara? Replying to this question, sage Sumantu said, once Lord Ganesh had created disturbance in the vow kept by a devout devotee named Gangaya. Kartikaya, the elder brother of Ganesh, felt so much enraged at this disturbance that in his anger he had broken one tusk from Ganesh's visage. When Lord Shiva had asked the reason behind Kartikaya's anger, Kartikaya explained, O Lord, you are called Kapali only because you carry a Kapali skull in your hands. But you had thrown it once into the sea. Then the sea had said that he who created any disturbance in one's performance of the vrata would suffer its consequences. Only when the vrata is performed religiously that this charge may become ineffective. The text of Bhavisya Purana is quite confused here. Suffice it to say that Lord Ganesh earned the epithet of Vigneshvara when he tried to disturb the vrata of a devotee, and Kartikaya had a fight with him on this count. To attain one's desires through the favor of the gods, humans can observe certain religious rites called vratas or vows, periodical fasts called upavasha, and donate alms. This Purana lays much emphasis on vratas and upavashas. A vrata is a holy resolve either to give up some activity or to follow some specific ritual regularly on certain days or at certain intervals of time. Before observing a vrata, one could follow certain preliminaries so as to purify oneself. One should rise early on that day, thoroughly cleanse oneself, offer flowers, fruits, incense, and food to the idol, and donate alms to Brahmins. One should, in certain vratas, observe silence throughout the day on which the vrata is to be followed, control one's temper, and check one's passions. Vratas owe their origin to sages and gods. It is they who instructed mankind to observe these religious rites in order to attain their alms. Subsequently, individuals who benefited from the observance passed on their significance to later generations. 2. Stories highlighting the efficacy of the vratas. The following stories, culled from the Bhavisya Purana, highlight the efficacy of observance of the vratas. The importance of the Buddhashtami vrata. Once upon a time, in the city of Mithila, there lived a woman named Urmila. She had a son and a daughter. Since she found it difficult to make her living in Mithila, she decided to try her luck elsewhere. Moving away with difficulty, escorting her son and daughter, she reached the city of Avanti and began to do some menial job at a Brahmin's house. She worked very devotedly, but she couldn't make the 2 ends meet. Her children used to starve. Once they were so hungry that Urmila had no way but to steal some grains of wheat from her master's granary. This was how she continued to survive. Meanwhile, her daughter, Shyamala, grew up into a nubile girl of ravishing beauty. She was so beautiful that Yama desired to marry her. Eventually, she was married to the death god. After marriage, Yama told Shyamala, Dear, you are my wife, and you are free to roam everywhere in my realm. However, there are 7 sections, rooms, which are not accessible for you. In fact, no mortal can enter them. They are beyond your reach. You should never try to enter them under any condition. You must never attempt to unlock these 7 rooms. Shyamala promised to do so. While living in Yama realms, she was allowed to visit her mother's place. After a few years, her mother Urmila breathed her last. While staying in Yama's realms, she never attempted to reach the forbidden sections. Once she was getting bored, and out of sheer curiosity, she exceeded her range and tried to visit those sections, rooms. When she opened one of the doors and peered into the room, she was shocked to see whatever was there. She saw that inside the room, Yama's servants were in the process of forcing her mother, Urmila, into a cauldron boiling with oil. It was too much for her to bear. Unable to bear the sight, Shamala closed the door and opened the door to another room. In the second room, she found her mother being crushed on a grindstone. Horrified by the sight, Shamala closed this door and opened the door to the third room. In this room, she beheld nails were being driven into her mother's forehead. In the fourth room, she beheld her mother Urmila was being torn to pieces, and the pieces were being thrown before the hungry, fierce-looking dogs. In fact, in all the 7 rooms, whatever she beheld made her shudder with a dreadful nausea. Why is my mother being tortured in such a way after her death? What crimes or crime did she commit? I always found her to be the honest and God-fearing, and she couldn't imagine Urmila indulging in any such crime. At last, she went before her husband, the death god, and confessed her crime of treading into the forbidden rooms. Yama was quite angry. You have indeed been disobedient, since I had clearly forbidden you to ever peep into those sections. As for your mother, she is only being meted out the punishment she deserves. She had committed one serious crime. What is that? Shamala couldn't help asking. Once she had stolen some wheat from the Brahmin who had been her master. You must be aware that stealing any property of a Brahmin is a sacrilege. One who steals from the house of a Brahmin has to suffer in hell till almost eternity. She has to remain there until she completes the divine sentence. But this is too much, Lord, Shamala pleaded. She remembered that once her mother did steal some wheat grain to feed her and her brother. She was sorry for seeing her mother suffering the dire consequences of having done something without any selfish interest. Shamala again said, I cannot bear to see my mother suffering such tortures in hell. Can't I do something to relieve her from this deadly consequence? How can I do something to lessen your agony? The death god Yama consulted his records and said, There is one great punya that you had earned. In your previous birth you observed the Buddhastami Vrata as many as 8 times. You have still much credit for your meritorious deed. It still vests with you as its efficacy has not yet exhausted itself. In case you agree to transfer that punya to your mother's credit, she may be rescued from hell. The religious rite or vrata performed on the 8th day of the bright lunar half of every month, as also on the 8th lunar day of the dark half of the particular month. Bhadrapada is called the Ashtami Vrata. Should it fall on Wednesday, it becomes all the more efficacious. Then it is called Buddhastami Vrata. Shamala readily agreed to transfer that part of her merit to her mother, with the result Urmila was not only relieved from hell, but she earned a permanent nook in heaven in her rejuvenated form. Such is the efficacy of this vrata, whose even indirect effect can release one from the tortures of hell. Those who observe this vrata are beyond the reach of the Yamaduta according to this Purana. The vrata on Shukradvashi. It is also a very sacred vrata. If the lunar day Dvadashi falls on a Friday, it is called Shukradvashi vrata. The Purana tells this story to glorify the merit accruing to the performer due to this vrata. Once a Brahmin was passing by Vidisha city in the peak of summers when he found a ghostly figure crying in pain and wreathing on the banks of the river Vetravati. The sands were truly incinerating, and that existence was being invisibly forced to keep lying on those sands. There were boils all over the ghost's body, and he was crying for a drop of water. The Brahmin felt pity, and he asked, Why don't you get away from the sands? Why are you torturing yourself this way? O noble Brahmin, that ghostly figure replied, I am not doing this out of my own volition. What you don't see are the messengers of Yama who are holding me to these smoldering sands. It is a part of punishment that I am being subjected to for my misdeed in my previous life. What sin did you commit in that life? Then the ghost told his story given below. He was a trader, Vaishya class, in his previous life. His name was Shalbhadra. He lived in the city of Vidisha. Despite his being very rich and affluent and having a small family, he never donated anything and enjoyed his wealth in the company of his close relations. Not only that, he never worshipped gods. Since he did nothing good for any other than his close family members, he couldn't earn any merit. On the contrary, he committed a sin of not helping any needy outsiders or Brahmin. He never donated anything, nor served the cow. With the result, after death he was forced to undergo that punishment. I am being roasted on these burning sands for that sin. O great soul, I cannot bear this agony any more. Please help me. The Brahmin really felt sorry for that ghost. He said, I observed Shukradvashi Vrata 10 years ago. That punya which I earned may help this ghost to get relieved from these tortures. As he said, the ghost stopped writhing in pain. He smiled and rose high to the heaven on account of the merit of observing the Shukradvashi Vrata getting transferred to his account by the noble Brahmin. This Purana claims that such holy vratas have their noble results not only for the performer but also for those whose affection the performer earns. It lists more such vratas which are given below. Ubhaya Dvadshi. This vrata, like other Dvadshi vrata already described, is observed on both the Dvadshis of the bright as well as the dark fortnights, and it gives the performer some merit, punya, as may be perceived by visiting the holy tirthas as pious as Gaya, Pushkara, Varanasi, and Pragya. Tilaka Vrata. The observance of a Tilaka Vrata involves wearing a tilaka, caste mark upon one's forehead. This could be an everyday feature. It is believed that enemies and evil spirits flee when they see the tilaka on the forehead of a devotee. Jatismara Vrata. As has already been explained, a Jatismara means a being who remembers the events of his or her past lives. Its observance requires silence till the moon rises. On this day, different gods have to be simultaneously worshipped. A person who faithfully observes this particular religious rite is blessed with this gift. There are certain vratas where even the knowledge of the vidhi, procedural instruction, can get one the punya as effective as almost performing the vrata. Some of these extra sacred vratas are given below. 1. Rashakalyani Vrata. It was a vrata which was first observed by goddess Parvati. In the observance of the vrata, her idol is to be bathed in pure ghee, clarified butter, and worshipped. A person who listens to the vidhi of this vrata or persuades others to do the same gets to live in Parvati's realm, as all his or her sins are immediately forgiven. 2. Ardranandakari Vrata. It involves the worship of Shiva and Parvati. One who listens to the vidhi for this vrata or makes others to do the same gets a place in Indra's abode. 3. Mandarashastiti Vrata. One who reads out or listens to the vidhi of Mandarashastiti Vrata is absolved of all sins. The Purana doesn't mention the specific month for this vrata. Obviously, it means that the vrata is to be performed on all the 6th lunar dates. Shashtis. Emphasizing on the efficacy of the vratas, this Purana warns that they ought to be performed with total faith and devotion, for if they are performed half-heartedly, they arouse the wrath of the gods. It says that if such displeasure has indeed been caused, the wrath of the gods can be appeased by observing the Akhanda Dvadashi Vrata, which involves dedicated worship of Vishnu with offerings and chanting of the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It is prescribed that certain vratas are meant to be observed only by women. For example, women can get the punya obtained by men by observing the Ashvamedha Yagya if they dedicatedly observed Ananta Tritiya Vrata in winters. In observing it, it is incumbent upon the married women to wear red clothes, while the widows the yellow-hued clothes. The unmarried women, girls, should wear only white clothes. On this day, women must worship Vishnu and Lakshmi and feed the Brahmins while giving them alms and donation. Some vratas dedicated to the sun god. This Purana lays special emphasis on observing vratas dedicated to the sun god. Some of them are listed below. 1. Ubhaya Paksha Saptami Vrata. Observed on the 7th lunar day, Saptami, the sun god is worshipped and Brahmins are fed in the winter month of Pusha, roughly the end of December. Performed with total dedication, this vrata rewards the observer with the fulfillment of his or her desires for achieving all the 4 human goals, via dharma, righteousness, artha, wealth, kam, fulfillment of all the desires, and moksha, salvation of the final release. 2. Shukla Paksha Abhaya Saptami Vrata. This vrata is observed during the bright fortnight when the seventh lunar date occurs. It is particularly of added significance when it occurs during the month of Sharvan. The vrata performance is rewarded by the sun god by allowing the performer to dwell in his realms or Surya Loka. 3. Ananta Saptami Vrata. This rite is observed on the seventh lunar day during the month of Bhadrapada in the bright fortnight. The reward is a permanent nook in the Surya Loka. 4. Bhadrapada Vratas. The Saptami date, in dark as well as in bright fortnights, is accorded such significance by this Purana. The vrata should be observed by bathing the image of the sun god in Gangajal and rubbed with clarified butter. The various vratas are called Kamala Saptami, Kamala Shashti, Mahastaptami, Mahajaya Saptami, Mahashvadityavana Vrata, Martan Saptami Vrata, Ubhaya Saptami Vrata, etc. All these have the common rituals as explained above. Among these, the Saptami Vrata during the bright fortnight, and a few Shashti Vratas still survive. 5. Durganda Nashaka Vrata. This is a peculiar vrata whose ultimate reward is to eliminate foul body odor. Trees preferred by Surya, like the Shami tree and the Banyan, should be worshipped. The date specified for this vrata is Saptami of Jeshta Shukla Paksha, roughly in the middle of June. 6. Hridayadyavana Vrata. According to other mythological accounts, it was in Vaishakha, the end of April, that Lord Ram, on the advice of the sage Agastya, had worshipped Lord Surya and sought his blessings to kill Ravana. It is performed like other sun-propitiating vratas by worshipping the rising sun and keeping fast till the sunset. The reward is the achievement of worldly desires. The vratas whose details are not supplied by this Purana include Jaya Vrata, Jaya Saptami Vrata, Kamada Vrata, etc. In enumerating these vratas, there are repetitions galore. 7. Mandarshashti Vrata. This is observed on the sixth lunar day of the bright fortnight of the month of Margshira. The sun god is worshipped with the flowers of mandar, coral tree. If observed properly with all rituals, this vrata's reward is birth in a good family in the next life. Sharkara Saptami Vrata. Observed on the seventh lunar day, bright fortnight, in the month of Ashvini, wearing white clothes is necessary while bathing the sun god's image with milk. Donating sweet meats or sugar to the Brahmanas is the imperative part of its rituals. Shavartha Saptami Vrata. Observed in the dark fortnight of the month of Margashirsha on the seventh lunar day. On this day the observer forsakes the use of salt and oil, worships Surya, and donates alms to holy Brahmins. Its reward is attainment of heaven. 10. Trivarga Saptami Vrata. This is observed on the bright fortnight's seventh lunar date in the month of Falguna. Its rewards ensures the observer staying aloof from all evil persons. 11. Bhadrapada Shukla Paksha Vrata. This is chiefly recommended for a poor person who wants to become rich. It involves the control of one's senses and anger and worship of the sun god. It is observed in the bright fortnight of the month of Bhadrapada, when the asterism Ardra occurs in the seventh lunar day. 12. Ratha Saptami Vrata. This is observed on the seventh lunar day in the month of Margashirsha, involving the worship of the sun god Surya and his charioteer Aruna, and feeding Brahmins while also donating alms. This enables one to get birth in a better condition in the next life. 13. Shankranti Vrata. This is performed at every transition, Shankranti, of the sun, which takes place on the 14th or 15th of every month. Particularly on Makar Shankranti Day, this has additional significance. On this day, the sun god is worshipped with great devotion, and almsgiving, feeding the Brahmins, also take place. Of the Shankranti Vrata ensures a life with good health. 14. Rogahari Vrata. In it, the observer lives on a diet of milk and fruits, sleeps on the bare ground, and worships Surya with a variety of flowers. The observance of this vrata ensures his cure from all diseases. Apart from these, in fact, all the Saptamis, seventh lunar day, are held sacred to the devotees of Lord Surya. It appears that the 7th lunar day is especially sacred to Lord Surya, as Ekadashi is held dear to Lord Vishnu. Besides these vratas dedicated to Lord Surya, there are other vratas that are observed for propitiating other gods as well. The prominent ones are listed below. 1. Ananta Chaturdashi Vrata. It occurs on the 14th lunar day by the month of Bhadrapada's bright half. It is believed that this is observed to propitiate Ananta, an epithet of Sheshnag, the fabled serpent that supports the earth, and upon whose coiled couch the Lord Vishnu lies. Only a frugal diet of fruits and milk is taken with full meal in the evening. Vishnu is also worshipped on this day, as Ananta is believed to be a manifestation of Lord Vishnu's powers. This vrata ensures the observer's progeny, proving itself to be versatile. It also ensures fulfillment of one's desires. 2. Bhishma Panchaka Vrata. During the bright fortnight of the month of Kartika, this vrata is observed. It is called after the name of Bhishma, the grand uncle of Taurava and Pandavas, because he was the first to observe it. Liqueurs, meat, and false speech, telling lies, are to be scrupulously avoided, and Vishnu is worshipped. In order to get oneself absolved of the sin of killing a Brahmin, this vrata is also observed. In fact, it means that the vrata is so efficacious that even the Brahmahatya sin is mollified by its observance. Bhishma had observed it, for he thought he might have killed many Brahmins during the Mahabharata war. 3. Ashoka Vrata. On this day, the deities of vegetation, moon, and Varuna are propitiated through a ritual worship of the Ashoka tree to eliminate all grief, shoka, from one's life. 4. Gopada Tritiya Vrata. This is observed on Tritiya, the 3rd day of the lunar fortnight, in the month of Bhadrapada, when asterism Purva Bhadrapada is rising in the sky. Cows are worshipped, oil, salt, and all cooked items are prohibited. This enables the observer to attain Goloka, liberally the realm of cows, but it is also identified with the realm of Lord Vishnu. 5. Govatsa Dvadashi Vrata. A cow and her heifer are worshipped on Dvadashi, the 12th lunar day, during the Krishna Paksha, dark fortnight of the month of Kartika. Celibacy is observed, and the worshipper sleeps on the bare floor. This also ensures the observer's entry into Goloka. 6. Govinda Dvadashi Vrata. Observed in the month of Pusha on the 12th lunar day during the bright fortnight. On this day the cows are fed. The observer also lives on milk and abjures the use of salt. 7. Kukuti Vrata. Observed on the Amavasya of the month of Bhadrapada, Shiva and Parvati are propitiated on this day. It is recommended that the Yagyapavita should be formally worn. The reward is the observer may be blessed with the health of his progeny. 8. Madhuka Tritiya Vrata. In the month of Falguna, during the bright fortnight on Tritiya, this vrata is observed to propitiate goddess Parvati and the tree Madhuka, Bhavisya latifolia. It is generally observed by nubile girls so that they may get a good husband. 9. Nagapanchami Vrata. On the 5th lunar day of the dark fortnight of the month of Savan, Shravana, this fast is observed. As the very name suggests, on this day the image of a serpent is ritually made on a piece of cloth and it is worshipped. The Nagas, serpents, are fed milk. The reward is total safety from snake or reptile-caused disturbance. 10. Ulkadvadashi Vrata. This is observed on the 12th lunar day in the month of Margashirsha, when Vishnu is reverentially worshipped so as to cure physical disabilities like deafness and dumbness, and the dreadful diseases like leprosy. 11. Vanayaka Chaturthi Vrata. Observed on the 4th lunar day of the bright fortnight of the month of Bhadrapada, on this day the observer eats sesame seeds, preparations, and Lord of all obstructions, Vigneshvar Ganesh, is worshipped. This vrata's observance ensures removal of all impediments in one's life. 12. Shanti Vrata. Observed for general peace on Ekadashi Tithis of the bright fortnight of the month of Kartika. This involves worship of Lord Vishnu. On this day, no sour or cereal preparation is eaten. Some versions claim that both the Ekadashi should be included for the observance of this vrata. This fast is kept for ensuring general peace and happiness in the family. 13. Sarasvati Vrata. It is observed on the 5th day of the bright fortnight of the month of Falguna to propitiate the goddess of learning, Sarasvati, so that she may shower her grace to make the observer learned. 14. Ashunya Shayana Vrata. The observer periodically fasts for a period of 4 months and offers sweet and seasonal fruits to different gods. The reward of this vrata is that a couple stays ever united. Obviously, it is to be observed by both husband and wife. 15. Aviyoga Tritiya Vrata. Observed for marital harmony. This vrata is held on the third lunar day, Tritiya, during Shukla Paksha, in the month of Margashirsha. Although different gods are worshipped, the main emphasis is laid on the ritual worship of Lord Shiva and Parvati. 16. Vata Shavitri Vrata. This vrata has special significance. On this day, the tree Vata, Banyan, is worshipped, which signifies long age. Shavitri, as we know, was the wife of Satyavan, who brought back her husband from the realm of death after defeating the god of death in a battle of wit. This is celebrated during the Shukla Paksha in the month of Bhadrapada on the third lunar day, Tritiya. It is generally observed by married ladies desiring long age of their husband. 17. Akshaya Tritiya Vrata. Held on the third lunar day of the bright half of the month of Vaishakha, it is a very auspicious day for solemnizing marriage. It is believed that a nuptial union made on this day lasts very long. The parents of the bride and bridegrooms observe this vrata by keeping fast till the Kanyadan ceremony is over. 18. Skanda Shashti. Observed in the bright fortnight of Kartika month, this is the day on which Kartikaya, the elder son of Lord Shiva, is worshipped. On the 6th lunar day, the observer should stand in a holy river and offer dadigi udak, sweets made from ghee and sugar, and offered with curds, to the setting sun. The entire day the observers keep strict fast. Some of the versions of this Purana claim that the offering should be made while looking towards the south, possibly because Lord Kartikeya's abode is the Kranch Parvata, which is believed to exist in the southern part of India. There is no caste restriction, and anybody can observe this fast. Almsgiving. A religious rite, vrata, is held incomplete unless it is accompanied by or concluded by almsgiving. According to this Purana, wealth, property, money given in donation never goes to waste. In fact, it is an investment for a better future or next life. Material wealth is of no use after one's death. It is therefore well spent if it is given in donation of alms. A healthy body and a long life serve no purpose if they are not put to some benefit to the other, needy persons. Those who don't donate the alms or wealth to Brahmins and in other philanthropic charity, in fact, have curses and misfortunes lying in wait for them. Most of the ills that one suffers in this world are the consequences of not spending one's wealth in the previous life. The conditions of sickness, hunger, want of the bare necessities remind all what they should have done to escape such consequences. Furthermore, a dan, donation of alms, must always be accompanied by dakshina, fees. For every yagya sacrifice or some noble endeavor, dana, donation, and vrata, a commensurate dakshina, is prescribed, which has to be paid immediately. Otherwise, no ceremony is deemed complete. This Purana says that for any yagya, the dakshina is gold or silver coins. Some of the prominent dana are the following. 1. Godana. It is held to be the most sacred dan. A healthy cow and calf are donated to a learned Veda-versed Brahmin. It is believed that such a dana ensures one getting a nook in heaven following one's death. Even during life, one gets all the benefits of a blessed life. 2. Rishabhadana. If an ox is donated as aim, one clears the sins of his 7 generations. Dahishidana. The donation of a she-buffalo ensures the fulfillment of one's all-worldly desires, but the buffalo ought to be milch. 4. Bhumidana. Donation of a piece of land is supposed to eradicate all sins. 5. Grihadana. The donation of a well-decorated house is rewarded by one's stay in Lord Shiva's realm. 6. Annadana. Donation of cereal to the hungry and needy makes one stay in Lord Vishnu's realm. 7. Halapankti Dana. A plow made of gold and jewels with 40 models of golden bullocks attached in a line, pankti, to the plow, donated to a Brahmin, ensures the donor attaining a place in heaven for a period of 7 generations. 8. Apakadana. 1,000 utensils are gifted for the attainment of sons, servants, and riches. 9. Tali Shtali Dana. A copper or a clay plate, shtali, laden with food, is donated to the hungry Brahmins. Its reward is getting an inexhaustible stock of food by the donor. 10. Shayadana. The gifting of a bed, shaya, to a Brahmin ensures comfort to the soul. 11. Agnidana. Particularly during winters, placing a well-lit fire in a metal container at a common place so as to give warmth to passers-by is called Agnidana. This almsgiving ensures fulfillment of the donor's worldly desires. 12. Prapadana. A prapa is a stand for providing drinking water to the travelers. In colloquial parlance, it is also called a pyawu. A few water-filled pitchers are kept on the way of the travelers under a shady tree during summers. This form of donation is held to be very sacred, and its reward is getting a berth in the heavens. 13. Dasidana. A well-decorated maidservant is donated to a Brahmin to ensure the donor enjoying all pleasures during his stay in heaven. 14. Vidyadana. This donation is also held to be very sacrosanct, providing free education to anyone who comes under this category. Gifting a book, a sheet of paper, and inkpot to a Brahmin ensures one remaining educated in all the subsequent births. 15. Hiranyagarbha Dana. The hungry are fed and a golden image is donated to a Brahmin. This too ensures a passage to heaven. 16. Brahmanda Dana. A golden egg, an egg-shaped gold-made object, is prepared and golden images of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva are placed on the egg. The egg is then donated to a Brahmin, together with corn, shoes, and an umbrella. This erases sin and realizes one's objectives. Normally, this gift is a part of the dana made immediately after one's death by his descendants. 17. Tuladana. Normally, this is done by the parents on their child's birthday, so as to ensure the child enjoying all riches in life. Tula is a pair of scales. The child is made to sit in one of the scales, and the other is laden with gold, silver, cereals, salt, to the extent that both the scales are evenly balanced. Half of the alms thus donated is given to the Brahmins, 1/4 to the priest who aided in the ceremony, and 1/4 to the needy ones. This dana so ensures not only the child's rich life, but also much comfort after his quitting his mortal coil. 18. Kalpabhriksha Dana. Kalpabhriksha is that fabled tree that fulfills one's desire merely by asking. This donation is symbolical of this kind of almsgiving, in which a golden tree with golden fruit is constructed and donated to the Brahmins. The reward is dwelling in the realm of Surya with all comforts. 19. Saptasagar Dana. Saptasagar is symbolical of gifting. Some amount of salt, milk, jaggery, and sugar are donated to a Brahmin so as to have all previous sins erased. 20. Danya Parvata Dana. Mounds of grain are donated along with the gift of jaggery gola and clarified butter to a Brahmin. This is specially done on the day of Annakuta, which falls just after the Diwali festival. 21. Punyadana. This is a symbolical almsgiving. In it, the person, with a definite resolution, prays God to transfer the punya to his credit to the other person, whom he mentions the name and family, so that the other person may also be absolved of his or her sin. The caste system. This Purana emphasizes that the caste system devised by Manu should be followed for social peace. In fact, each Purana discusses this system and avers its adherence, but this Purana, i.e. Bhavisya Purana, is less rigid than what other Puranas assert. As is well known, it has 4 categories of persons in a society. The Brahmins should have their prime aim in learning and sacrifice. They are the ones who have the responsibility of guarding a society from the morality point of view. The Kshatriyas are the defenders from any aggression. and it is their job to maintain law and order in the society. The main job of the Vaishyas is practicing trade and agriculture, and that of the Shudra is to serve the other three sections of society and maintain cleanliness. However, the Bhavisya Purana is emphatic that birth by no means is the sole determinant of the caste of the person. It cites the examples of the high sages like Parashara, Shukadeva, Vashishta, Mandapala, and others who rose above their lowly origins. The same is the case of sage Vishwamitra, who was a born Kshatriya but attained Brahmanahood by dint of his penance and prayers. But it also states that a Chandala, a pariah or an outcast, or a Shudra, though he might study the Vedas by fraud or by doing so out of the country, cannot by mere study of the Vedas become a Brahmin. This Purana unambiguously asserts that it is one's conduct and not the study of the Vedas or Sanskaras, holy rituals, that makes a man a Brahmin in the true sense of the term. Of course, it is true that the study of the Vedas is the professional duty of Brahmins, but it is the inherent character of the person that identifies one as a Brahmin. No amount of the Veda learning can save a person who has deviated from the path of the righteous conduct. The teaching of the Vedas must percolate down to the person's conduct conforming to the basic traits of a Brahmin. The Bhavisya Purana further says that a Shudra and a Brahmin at their birth have only difference of name, as there is nothing distinct or any distinguishing factor between them. Both are just human beings. According to this Purana, Shudras are not debarred from wearing the sacred thread or from praying. No matter what they do, it is the basic, inherent character that makes a man Brahmin, not his observance of a few rituals or chanting of the mantras. Nevertheless, there are certain acts or professions which a Brahmin shouldn't indulge in if he wants to retain his Brahminhood. Those Brahmins who graze cows, goats, or sheep, and who become servants, shopkeepers, and blacksmiths, lose their Brahminhood. Certain kinds of food are also forbidden for the Brahmin class. They should not eat or sell meat, garlic, and onions, drink liquor or the milk of camels. They shouldn't accept food at the time of a birth or a death. Food habits, together with one's profession, distinguish one class from another. Apart from these, a Brahmin must maintain a moral dignity and eschew backbiting. Not only should he practice high moral standards, but should inspire others as well. The Bhavisya Purana categorically says that one's class is not absolutely immutable or predetermined. A Shudra can become a Brahmin and vice versa. Similarly, a Kshatriya can become a Vaishya, and the converse is also possible. The special powers that a Brahmin acquires through the mantras are also acquirable by a Shudra. He can also develop powers through his penance and discipline, that his cause may also become as efficacious as it may be uttered by a Brahmin. Should a member of the higher class deviate from the ordained path of his group, he can always slide down the social rung. No individual can retain his class if he does not fulfill the duties that have been prescribed for his class. Hence it is apparent that this class diversion is not, or never has been, based on the vagaries of birth. Even if one is a born Brahmin with all the refinement through the sanskaras, yet he indulges in the vile act of stealing, kidnapping, dacoity, etc., not only will he go to hell, he will be tortured there much more painfully than a Shudra, should the latter commit the same crime. And if there be a Shudra who is honest, devoted to his duties, doesn't indulge in vice practices, led above the society even after his death, he would get a better realm, so declares the Purana. The view held by other Puranas was that some consideration in this case division also included the complexion of the person, but this Purana is critical of the view that Brahmins are white like the moon, Kshatriyas are red like the Kinshuka flower, Vaishya are yellow like the Haritala, yellowish mineral color like oripint, and Shudras are black like coal. Such complexion-based distinction is not true, as any member of any class could have any complexion. As a matter of fact, the Bhavisya Purana goes to question the very basis of the Varna Vyavastha, It says that like sons of the same father, like fruits of the same tree, all Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras have the same constituent elements. They cannot be differentiated on the basis of any physical quality like complexion or general appearance. They all belong to the same species and not as visibly different as a cow or a horse from each other. There is no doubt that by the time this Purana was compiled, the influence of other races had started to tell upon the Indian society. Hence it seemingly incorporated some fresh ideas on the subject of class or caste distinction, since it seems to include as belated Indian history as the advent of even the British. The absorption of different races must have reduced the distinctions in the general appearance of the caste to the minimum. This may be the indirect influence of the classless faiths like Christianity and Muslims. The Bhavisya Purana made this distinction of speaking almost against the Varna Vyavastha. It was not that the Varna Vyavastha was prevalent only in the Indian society. The Bhavisya Purana claims that the population of Shakadvipa was grouped into four classes called Maga, Magaga, Ganaga, and Mandaga, or Mandaba, who were equivalent to Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudra of the Hindu caste system. According to ancient Iranian books, they had Maga Brahmins, and the entire society was divided into four sections of layers: Pishtras, Atharvas, priests; Kathestas, warriors; Vaistriyas, family chiefs; and Bhuttis, laborers. The earth and its regions. Like other Puranas, the Bhavisya Purana also states that the earth is divided into 7 regions, Dvipa, and their names are Jambudvipa, Plakshadvipa, Shalmaladvipa, Kushadvipa, Kranchadvipa, Pushkardvipa, and Shakadvipa. While Bharatavarsha is in Jumbudvipa, Persia, Iran is said to be in Shakadvipa. In Iran and the roundabout region, there used to be strictures against a man's aspiring for a position higher than what society had allotted to him at the time of his birth, but there was also considerable freedom of movement from one class to another. Maybe the Iranian influence brought by the Persian had influenced the Indian caste system. The Bhavisya Purana says that Shakadvipa surrounds the ocean that is known as Dadi Samudra, or Ocean of Curds. It says the cities of Shakadvipa are clean and the inhabitants have long lives. Famine, disease, and old age were unknown in that land. There were 7 snowy white mountains in the region, and these mountains abounded in precious stones. Jewels were also to be found in the 7 rivers that flew through the country. The fabled mountain called Meru, according to this Purana, is located in Shakadvipa. This was where the sages and Gandharvas lived. The second mountain, which leaned slightly to the east, was called Udaya, with a golden peak. Clouds gathered here in great number. The third mountain was called Mahagiri. It abounded in lakes. It was from these lakes that Indra collected the water that was and is used for creating the clouds. Mahagiri was a vastly populated region. The fourth mountain was called Raivataka. Exactly above it was and is the nakshatra called Revati. The mountain fact derived its name from this asterism. This mountain was called the heaven of Shakadvipa. The fifth mountain was named Shyama, and it was dark in color. The sixth mountain was Antagiri, and it was argent in hue. The seventh and the last mountain, according to this Purana, is Abhikheya. This is always covered in snow and is practically inaccessible. Like Jambudvipa is called so because of the abundant growth of this tree, Jamuna, in the region. The same way, Shakadvipa is called so because of the abundant growth of the Shaka tree. According to Bhavisya Purana, there are 7 sacred rivers in Shakadvipa. They are held so holy that each of them is referred to as the Ganga, although they have individual names as well. They are called Shivajala or Anutapta, Kumari or Vasavi, Nanda or Parvati, Shivatika or Parvati, Ikshu or Kratu, Denuka or Mrita, and the Ganga. Its individual name is not given. All these rivers flow into the ocean. Their waters are very clean, holy, and entirely thirst-quenching. The Purana lists 4 classes of the Shakadvipa, which have already been given. These inhabitants are extremely religious. They do not suffer from hatred, jealousy, and sorrow. These inhabitants are generally sun worshippers. They worship the most luminous god through vratas and fasts. The sun worshippers. There are 3 classes of followers or worshippers of the sun according to the Bhavisya Purana, which suggests them to have come from Shakadvipa mostly. They were sun-worshipping Magas, the fire-worshipping Magas, and the sun-worshipping Bujakas. According to this Purana, the latter Ma is the symbol of the sun god. One who meditates on Ma is called a Maga. A Maga is thus a sun worshipper. The sun or Surya is the supreme god of the Magas. They cook their meals for the sake of the sun and eat only after praying to the sun. They belong originally to Shakadvipa, which is located beyond Jambudvipa. The story of Shambho. Lord Krishna married Jambavati, and their union had produced a son named Shambho. Shambho was a delinquent boy, and as a curse imposed on him by his father, Shambho contracted leprosy. Shambho was told that his leprosy would be cured if he worshipped the sun. He constructed a temple dedicated to the sun on the banks of the river Chandrabhaga, Chenab. Since the priests of Shakadvipa were well versed in the worship of Surya, Shambho invited them to come and act as priests at the temple that he had built. Maga priests. The peculiarity of these Maga sages was that they took their meals in total silence. Normally, even ordinary people from Shakadvipa also keep silence at meal times. These Maga Brahmins wore a sacred thread known as the Avyanga around their waists. They grew beards and never touched carcasses and other unclean objects. The Bhavisya Purana claims that these Maga Brahmins kept their mouths covered as a protection against uncleanliness. Perhaps their influence reflected upon the Jain seers. They had a special emphasis on donating their earnings. They generally ate fruits and vegetables as part of their diet. How these Maga Brahmins came into being is given in the form of a story in the Purana. Maga Brahmin's birth. Once upon a time there was a sage called Rajiva. He was an ardent devotee of the fire god Agni. He had a daughter named Nikshubha. Surya, the sun god, secretly married her, and their union produced a son called Jarashabda. Since Nikshubda had married the sun god secretly without letting her father know about it, Rajiva was greatly angered. Despite his ardent love for his daughter, he cursed her. "I curse you that your son would be a rogue, an unworthy existence." Nikshubda was very much worried. She prayed to the sun god, who quietly appeared before her. "Although I cannot overrule your father's curse," he said, "as he is a reputed sage, yet I bless your son to have descendants well versed in the Vedas. They would wear the sacred thread known as Avyanga. This way, no matter your son to be proving unworthy, his descendants will be quite noble and renowned." It was these descendants of Jarashabda who came to be known as Maga Brahmins. They were the ardent devotees of the sun god. The Purana also says that some of his descendants also worship the fire god Agni. It is quite obvious that the Magas of this Purana were the Magi priests of ancient Persia. Scholars believe their migration to India having taken place during the period of the Kushanas. Although Iran is not worded as it is in this Purana, Shakadvipa is generally said to be the ancient Indian name for Persia or Iran. The Parsi community, which appears to be constituted by their descendants, are still the worshippers of the fire god and the sun god. What is similar between the Bhavisya Purana and the Iranian sacred book Avesta, Zendavesta, is their referring to 5 kinds of fire, Agni. Moreover, phonetically, Jarashabda and Zarathustra appear not much apart. Given the pronunciational difference of the 2 regions, the Parsis, who are said to be descendants of the ancient Iranians, wore a sacred thread which they call Avoyanhava, which is also not much dissimilar with the term quoted in this Purana, Avyanga.